Hello. Thanks, autosave. Hello, Fenton here. How's it going, everybody? I hope you've had a good New Year and all that. I'm back. I'm back. I've been playing Factorio, and I want to show you my base today. Base tour video, if you like. Mining productivity 46 is about to be finished. This base is large and crazy, in my opinion. It is Crastorio 2, the mod Crastorio 2, full overhaul mod. There's going to be lots of things. If you've not played Crastorio 2 mod, there's lots of stuff that's different. It is very, it's vanilla adjacent, but it takes things a bit further. And there's a lot of different recipes for basic things. And let's have a look at it, shall we? First thing is, let's have a quick look. Let's save it and have a quick look. 163 hours, 55 minutes, and 55 seconds. That does include AFK time, of course, as it always does in Factorio. Sometimes you just got to sit and wait for stuff to happen. Alright, mining productivity 46 is about to be done. That is 520,000 of each of the Crastorio tech cards. It uses tech cards, not science, but we'll get to that. And the base is currently running at about 3,500 a minute. It is aim for 3,700, and that does happen for huge swathes of time, but for the most part, no. It doesn't quite make it. There we go. There's mining productivity 46. Done. The base is... Let's have a look at what I could call the starter base here. The starter base here uses the Factorissimo mod and the transport drones mod because I wanted to just get through this bit quickly with minimal fuss, minimal space. And this part of the base is scaled to about 1,000 science cards per minute. You can see here that stuff that I need just goes into depots, stuff that I want is asked for in other blue depots, and the little vans drive around and move everything around. It makes the game very simple in that regard because you don't have to worry about the logistics so much. You just make sure you've got enough of stuff and that your vans are doing the correct thing, going to the correct places. So sometimes you need to do stuff like this. You need to have a buffer depot because you need a lot of iron ore, and it's quicker to just have smaller depots here with a few vans going backwards and forwards and then sending large chunks of vans out when supply goes down. You can see here I'm on the belts are purple. Purple is the highest tier of belts in Crastorio 2. It goes yellow, red, blue, green, and then purple. Purple belts are 90 items per second. Blue belts are slightly slower than vanilla. I believe it goes 15, 30, 45. Is that right? Is vanilla belts 45 as well? I've forgotten everything about vanilla. I've been in Crastorio 2 mode for so long. Let's not worry about it. Crastorio 2 also comes with loaders and unloaders. They just connect to chests and depots and stuff. It makes, I mean, it makes balancing kind of irrelevant. You'll see in a lot of cases here there are balancers which you don't necessarily need to worry about so much because, especially this starter patch of ore here, which I've got the auto deconstruct mod for removing miners when they are empty, which is why stuff looks like this. A lot of these practices are from my Factorio Over Explained series, so if you want to check that out at any point, you're welcome to. That's why my miner things look like this. It makes balancing kind of irrelevant. Like, this doesn't really need to be like this at all. And I don't really know why I did that. There's lots of little things that... I don't pretend that this base is optimized in any real meaningful way, especially this transport base bit at the start. The transport drones just sort of deal with it. It's very helpful for buffers as well. This is a very large warehouse. It's 6 by 6, can fit 500 stacks of stuff in. Here's where copper comes in to the starter base and a nice little stacker. I designed a mini grid system for this part of the base. You have to build roads for the transport drones. They only go on the roads. And then I split each grid into quadrants so that if I wanted to double, triple, or 4 times something, so let's have a look at copper, for example. Beacons. The Crastorio adds another tier of buildings after the final one, so you've got electric furnaces and then you've got advanced furnaces which have crafting speed of 12 and 4 module slots. So this, for example, brings in 5.6 belts of copper ore and outputs 4 belts of copper plates. That is 90 items per second as well. So this one factory is 20,000 copper, and I needed that 4 times for the base. This is the starter base, as I say. It just works. You don't. It's very much easy mode, I would say. I would recommend transport drones for the Crastorio 2 mod, at least when you're starting, because there are a lot of recipes that are just very odd, and your bus might end up being very large. Sand is a good example. You can crush stone into sand, and you need sand to make quartz. But you also get sand as a byproduct of another recipe, and then you also need to turn some sand into chlorine. And chlorine is weird because you can reuse chlorine. I'll get to that when I'm explaining each individual module in the main base, but just for a high level overview here of Crastorio, it adds a lot after the rocket launch. The rocket launch only takes you to optimization tech cards. You get space data cards, which aren't in this list because you can't craft them. You get space data cards from rocket launches, which you can turn into optimization tech cards. And this has stopped because low density structures. Low density structures is, in my extreme experience with Crastorio 2, low density structures are your bottleneck for basically everything. The sheer amount that you need and the amount of resources that they take is frankly ridiculous. $336 copper per second to make 47 low density structures. 4 belts of copper will make you just about half a belt of low density structures. They recently added a recipe to Crastorio 2 when I was halfway through building the base, which changed electronic components from... well, they added a second recipe to it, which adds lithium to the recipe, but instead of getting 4 electronic components from 2 glass, 2 silicon, and 2 plastic, you can now get 10 from 3 glass, 3 silicon, 3 plastic, and 3 lithium. And I would not be surprised if, in the coming weeks, in the patch notes they said we might add more tech, we might add more recipes to this tech. They added a tech in the tech tree for that. Don't know where it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they add one for low density structures, because when I show you the Megabase part of this, oh lord. Here's my logistics hub, which has done very well for me. I've never needed to do anything more than this. I removed clusters of assembly machine 3s to make advanced assembly machines just for all of the gear wheels that you need. There's another tier of ore after steel called Immersium or Immersum. There's only one M, so you know it doesn't sound like it should be Immersium, but whatever. So you can make steel gear wheels now, and also Immersium gear wheels, which you need in vast quantities for the logistics sections. Undergrounds are extremely different in this. You need the exact number of belts that an underground will reach. So a yellow one goes the same, so that's fine, but you need 5 transport belts because obviously underground there are 5 transport belts. Don't do that. Red ones go much further than normal, blue ones much further than normal again. But you need that many blue undergrounds on top of the red underground that you started with. So yellow goes into red, red goes into blue. So by the time you get to purple, let me just deconstruct these. By the time you get to purple, not only do you need the 2 green undergrounds, you also need 40 superior transport belts because these reach 40 tiles. Which is very helpful that they reach so far. But when you just want to pop under a row of modules, it gets quite expensive quite quickly, as you can imagine. This has made 2,500 undergrounds in its life, and I believe I have made... Yeah, I made lots more than that. Oh, this is because it makes a pair, doesn't it? Yeah, so this has made 5,000, and then there was another 3,000 that I made before I moved to the advanced assembly machine model for this. Sorry, I'm drinking my coffee there. And each one of those needed 40 underground belts, which need low density structures, gear wheels, and an advanced transport belt. So it adds up, but obviously it's well worth it because you get 90 items per second. So yeah, this is the starter base. Each one of these Factorissimo labs is just filled with this. This does 1,000 science per minute when it's working. Apparently there's a problem with the low density structures. I don't really know why. Everything looks like it's fine. Everything's working at full tilt. It just needs so much low density. I mean, I could obviously add another factory here. I don't touch this anymore. The only thing I really do is I add another inbound for immersite crystals, because even with mining productivity 46, these run out quite quickly. Right. The Megabase makes 2,700 science cards a minute. And let's go over there now with the teleporters. Thank you very much. We'll start off with going here. Okay, this is the heart of the base, and I know it doesn't look like much. The idea with this base is to not worry about mining iron and sending iron to where iron is needed. In Crastorio, you can turn anything, any raw resource, into matter. Coal, copper, crude, iron, mineral water, which is a separate thing. You can turn quartz into matter, which is interesting because you can't get quartz. You can only get quartz from putting sand in a furnace, but you can't turn sand into matter. So any of the raw resources, basically, including wood, which you can get from greenhouses, which is very interesting. You can turn into matter. And then on the other side, with matter assemblers, you can turn matter back into things. If you're turning it into a raw resource, it's just free. You don't lose anything. 10 coal makes 3.5 matter. 3.5 matter makes 10 coal. You don't lose anything. The higher tier, if you want to make finished products, plastic, rare metals, as opposed to raw rare metals, you need something called a matter stabilizer. I don't worry too much about that because matter stabilizers are very expensive and they need energy. What I decided to do is I say to have mining patches, and I'm trying to not show off too much of the base before I show you a big overview. So just over here, for example, this mines iron ore, turns the iron ore into matter here through matter plants. My mining productivity is so high that even this whole thing. This is middle out mining as well. You can see here just down the middle, all of these go this way, and all of these go this way. So even one half of this is 14 purple transport belts, 1,200 iron ore per second, and they just get fed straight into matter plants. The matter plants turn the iron ore into matter. A train comes and picks this up once there's enough matter to be done with a simple decider combinator that just says open the station when there's more than 100,000 matter here, just so that I don't have to have one train for each. A train comes to pick it up. Should be on its way. I think it's this one. Thanks, autosave. Hello, train? Here it is. A train comes to pick up the matter. This isn't the most efficient way of loading a train, but it is fast enough. And takes that matter back here, where it is unloaded and turned into matter cubes. Matter cubes are just solid matter. You get 1,000 matter, which is a fluid. As you can see here, these are fluid tankers. I have the mod to colour trains automatically based on their contents, just because I think it looks nice. So each one of these trains can drop off 100,000 matter, which I can then turn into 100 matter cubes. Matter cubes need matter stabilizers to turn into matter, but they don't need stabilizers to turn back into liquid matter, which is very important for the process of this base. Matter cubes then are just a 200 stackable item, which go in here, and then they go into 1-1 trains everywhere along the base. So the idea with that is that a 4-1 train can only hold 100,000 matter, whereas even one single cargo wagon can hold, what would it be? What's a cargo wagon? 40. How do I not know this? I'm such a loser. Can store 40 stacks of 200. So that's 8,000 matter cubes, which is 8 million matter when you take it back into the liquid matter. So that's a lot. Which means you don't really need much of this, because the trains will come here so infrequently. So if I do the very slow walk, it's not that slow. It's even for my movement speed. Crastorio adds Power Armor Mark III, which is just, you know, loads of roboports and stuff. There's no biters. I mean, I've gone on about this at length in my other Factorio series. Screw biters, even more so in Megabase territory. Right, here we go. Here is... So we just have one nice little small train here bringing in matter cubes. This is a lot of matter cubes, and as you can see, it's so infrequently that it even needs to move a matter cube over, because this makes the copper for the base. All of the copper that doesn't have to go to low density structures is made here. First of all, there is a separate process in Crastorio 2 if you want to get more yield out of your copper. You can, what is it called? Refined? Enriched. You can do enriched copper. So you take copper ore and you enrich it with a small amount of sulfuric acid and water, and you get 6 enriched copper for 9 copper ore, which with the productivity basically gives you a 1-to-1. I mean, not quite. 201 copper ore gives you 188 enriched copper. But then enriched copper you only use in half quantities. Copper plates through copper ore is 10 copper ore makes 5 plates, whereas you only need 5 enriched copper to make 5 copper plates. So you're doubling your throughput, basically. So then this is what this module does. This makes copper plates from enriched copper. 45,000 per minute, almost 46,000. And the copper just comes from turning matter cubes back into matter, and then turning that matter into copper ore. So this uses 18,000 matter per minute, which is only 18 matter cubes per minute. And that's if it's running at full tilt, which it doesn't need to be. 18 matter cubes per minute. even if this matter assembler, which is running at 61 matter cubes per minute, were running at full tilt, it would still only go through half a wagon in an hour. So this train would only need to leave this station once every 2 hours to go and get filled, which is pretty incredible. You'll also notice that Crastorio adds an extra tier of beacons. They are awkward shape, they have a very small range, but they distribute the efficiency of the modules inside by 0.75 as opposed to 0.5 of these. Let me move away. I'm pretty sure I turned the game volume down, but I think I'm shouting because it's still loud on my headphones. So there are two shapes basically of assembly of machines in Crastoria 2. This shape, where you can use undergrounds to get the most out of it. You can use undergrounds here and then a loader. Oh, they fixed it so that I'm so used to it. It used to do that for you by itself, and then they changed it to make it not for some reason, and now they've changed it back, or something like that. After lots of experimentation, it is better to do that with the modules and not this. These are an awkward shape for a start, so you can't quite... You can do this. That's it, yeah, with one space in between. This is worse. For one, you don't then get the space for this to happen. You can only do that here in these gaps, which makes things awkward. And two, if you do this, it gives you a crafting speed once it's all sorted itself out of 62, but then they're too far away for these modules. It's in fact better to do this design and then squeeze in singularity beacons where you end up not having this kind of stuff happening, and then your outputs and stuff, and then you just squeeze singularity beacons in such a way that it gives you nice even ratios. So here, for example, each one of these, once it's fully surrounded by regular beacons, sorry, I just need to add 5 more, and then that gives you a nice ratio here. 84 enriched copper out, 82 enriched copper in per hour. Wagons per hour. There we go. Per minute, per second. 182 per second, and it makes 188. So I personally have found this the best way to do it, rather than surrounding them in the singularity beacons. Singularity beacons are also expensive. They need energy control units, 10 of them. Energy control units after low density structures are probably the next biggest bottleneck in the whole mod pack, and only because energy control units need low density structures in the first place that they're not number one on that list for me. Wow, that's running at full tilt for a bit, isn't it? Look at it go. The enriching process spits out dirty water. You can turn dirty water back into copper ore and stuff. It's just a bit messy. I just flare stack the dirty water and I get some stone out of it, and I turn the stone back into the matter. Is it 100% efficient? No. Alright, so then this is a basic module. This gives me matter cubes in and gives me copper ore out. I do need to double this up, I think, by the looks of it. It's not quite there. Not quite there. There's always a bit of a queue. They go into big warehouses, and then the high tier of inserters, there's this, which is a single width, just your regular inserter. They're quite quick. They're quite quick. But because the long-handed inserters are just as fast, give me some of those back. Because the long-handed inserters are just as fast, but they can reach 2 tiles, of course, you can stack them like this. So for most of my train loading and unloading, that's not right. For most of my train, yes it is. For most of my train loading and unloading, I use this method. I use either a medium container or a warehouse for the arms to grab from, and then I do this. It's very quick. It's very quick. It's probably, I mean, you can't use unloaders from trains, which is unfortunate. Um, that would obviously be the most efficient way to do it, but in Crastorio 2 you can't do that. At least I'm pretty sure you can't do that. Yeah, no, you can't. Of course not. I would be mad if I designed the whole base and then had been actually wrong the whole time about whether you could do that. This is a single module. It's very reminiscent of Nilaus's current Megabase in a Book series, except this is a left-hand drive, so it's actually completely different. These are the inputs with a small stacker here. Obviously I designed the station first, so some of it is a bit overkill. Like obviously you're never going to need a stacker for this, but because the top station is not always going to be matter cubes, I just keep the stacker here just so there's some semblance of uniformity. The output goes at the bottom with a stacker and then some refueling. Refueling is very simple. There is a small little module over here which takes matter cubes in, turns some of the matter into uranium, some of it into steel. Covarex enrichment turns that uranium into uranium-238, and then that uranium-235 and the 238, whichever way around it is, and then the steel turns into uranium fuel. This logistics box hasn't been restricted to stuff, so it's full of wood and coal and pylons as well, apparently. The excess stone gets turned into landfill at such a small rate that I will probably have to take this warehouse out once every year or so. And then the uranium goes here into a train which is delivering logistics robots so that logistic robots can fuel the trains in each individual section. It brings in some logistics robots in case there aren't any logistics robots in the station, and it takes away the empty uranium fuel cells for reprocessing back at that place. Crastorio 2 also has a large and a small roboport that you can do, so I just add a small roboport here so that it doesn't overlap with the other stations, and a regular roboport here for reading. I don't think you can add wires to this, can you? No. So you need at least one regular roboport so you can read the total amount of logistics robots here. So then this just takes some logistics robots out of the train, and the station only opens when there are less than 20 uranium fuel cells in the supply. And then there's this import in and out here, so the spent fuel cells come out of the train to be picked up and reprocessed, and so on. So that's a single module. And this makes the copper. And it's about time I show you, I suppose. Here is the base. This is the starter base. This was some weird experiment I did with making wood out of greenhouses and fertilizer. It didn't really work. I don't like it. You can turn wood into matter, and I decided that it wasn't really that viable. It's free, of course. You can just use greenhouses and water to make wood, but it's so slow. It's so slow. Here is the whole base. This makes 2,700 science cards per minute. 3.3 thousand in the last hour. It's not quite stable. There's some small troubleshooting I need to do. Here are a whole bunch of stations. Here's the one I showed you earlier that takes the iron ore and turns it into matter. There's another one over here that does the mineral water. Mineral water is just another fluid in the same way that crude oil is. It's basically the same. You just use it to make some of the processes. Here's another iron ore one. This one goes into a balancer as opposed to just straight in, and I think I prefer it going straight in because, as luck would have it, this mining system here, miner, belt, miner, with the power going through the middle, is exactly the same height as one of these matter assemblers, so you can just put them in a row like this. There's not really any point in balancing it because, as I found out, there's not really much point in balancing it because with the right number of modules and beacons, you can just have one of these doing a single belt of iron ore in. So if this is making less than a belt, then so be it. The other ones will make a full belt, as you can see back over here. The ones in the middle are just running all the time. The ones on the edges not running as often, but it doesn't really make any difference. If I were to put this into a balancer, these ones are still only going to be having one iron ore belt into the balancer. All I'd be doing is I'd be taking away some of the iron ore from these middle ones, making the edges work slightly more often, but obviously then I'd be taking them away from the middle ones, like you can't. So this is the best way to do it, in my opinion. And then I can just plop this down as well. I have a massive blueprint here for middle out mining. I did this in sandbox mode. I just used the command line to spawn a massive 500 by 500 square of stone, I think it was. Placed miners on it with middle out, took a blueprint of that, and then brought that blueprint over to this game so that when I just want to set this up, I can just go, right, well, what's roughly the middle, and then align it with roughly the top or the bottom, depending on what you want to do. Plop it down, trim off the excess, and there we go. So that was a simple module, copper, for example. Here's the steel one. The steel one's slightly different. I bring wood and matter in because steel in this you need to turn coal into coke, and then coke and iron make steel. Again, matter cubes in. Some of the matter goes into coal, some of the matter goes into iron ore. I don't enrich the iron ore for this just because it would take up a lot of space. The other thing I should have mentioned here is that for anywhere that I need sulfuric acid, I designed this, which just gets sulfuric acid from matter. You turn the cubes into matter, you turn the matter into crude, you turn some of the matter into iron, you process the crude into petroleum, process the heavy oil into light oil, process the light oil back into petroleum as well. All of that petroleum turns into sulfur. The sulfur turns into sulfuric acid with some water and some iron plates. The sheer volume of sulfuric acid that you need for this kind of stuff to run full tilt, it's not viable to bring it in via trains. It just isn't. I mean, this doesn't even use that much. It would only use one wagon every 2 minutes. But there are some other modules that need a lot more sulfuric acid than that, and I just reused the Factorissimo mod here just to tidy this up slightly. Just so that I go, right, well this makes sulfuric acid and it just looks neat. You could argue that it's cheating. I argue that it's kind of not really cheating because all I would have to do is just move all of this over a touch and then have that messy sulfuric acid bit on the outside. So I just I just pump the water straight into the factory and then just say this is a sulfuric acid factory, and you'll see these dotted around the map because, as I say, it's just not viable to move the sulfuric acid around via trains. Red circuits. There's no order to this. I just plop stuff down. If I would change anything about this, which I can't really do now, is I would probably break this off about here and not have such long lines. I think these are too tall, but it's mostly okay. Red circuits, mostly the same as vanilla. Green circuits, but you also need these electronic components, which we'll get to, because, yeah. Blue circuits, purple circuits, processing units use sulfuric acid, so there's another one of those. Rare metals in. This is my generally accepted way of moving. There's sort of like its own little mini bus, I suppose. The trains unload here into 8 medium containers. Those 8 medium containers are then balanced with loaders. Loaders are self-balancing, basically, for the most part. There's a bit of spaghetti here. This one actually merges with this one on the end for here to make so there's half a belt and half a belt go here, and then the others have half a belt, and then they're just tied up here. So then this means I can stack the stations 4 high if I need to in a single block, with enough space for a 4 to 3, a 4 to 2, a 4 to 4 balancer, depending on what exactly I need. And then those belts just come down. You don't even really need the balancer because you're using splitter priority to just send everything possibly that you could manage to send south here at this point. And then with the rare metals and the sulfuric acid and the red circuits, we get purple circuits. For modules that have more than one station, I've done a very dirty, quick set of decider combinators here, where I just paste this down, read the status of all of the warehouses put together, and for the most part stuff stacks to 200. So that means that one train can hold 32,000. So if the signal is more than 32,000, send a 1. If it's then also more than 64,000, send another 1. And if it's more than 96, send the third 1. So then those 1s get totaled up here for the train limit of either 0, 1, 2 or 3, depending on exactly how much is in here. This is the easiest way to do it. It's a bit more manual. Not really that manual, because I just paste this down at the next station and just change this to the next thing and just double check the stack size. If it's 100, I just halve these, 16, 32, 48. This just means you only need decider combinators. You don't need any arithmetic combinators or anything like that. You just do that, and then it goes 1, 1 and 1, adds those up, and then the train limit is set there. So that's just so that the trains go to where there are definitely resources and they don't all just rush to the nearest processing unit station. Rocket control units, the same as vanilla, modules and purple circuits, processing units, except tier 1 modules use electronic components as opposed to red circuits. That's the only difference here. You can see this is very full. This is very full. There's only one of these, so there's no arithmetic combinators here. A bit of a gap here because there was a massive iron ore patch that I wanted to turn into matter. This was the original design for it. It's still middle out. So loud. It's still middle out, but I was experimenting with stuff here. So here's a balancer. Here's it with a warehouse instead. So the loaders just go into the warehouse, and then the warehouse unloads them. Arguably the same. I don't really know what the difference is with UPS or anything like that, but up here you can see my UPS is still 60 out of 60, so I'm not worried about that at all currently. This is one of the first ones I put down, especially with the middle out system, and as you can see I've perfected it since. I'd much rather do everything this way from now on. The amount of matter it outputs is not really enough to worry about pipe pressure here. Like, it's still filling up this very quickly. The only other change is I would probably move to doing my storage tanks like this instead, just so that the trains load slightly faster. It's very minor. It's very minor. Right, what's next in this row? Oh, we'll come back to this row later because this is very late game products here because I used this space last. So let's move up to here and let's have a look at the low density structure. Sorry, it's been long enough. Oh, let's have a look at rocket fuel while we're here. Rocket fuel is a pain in the backside. You have to make it in fuel refineries, and there's no tier 2 of fuel refineries. Like, the tier 2 advanced chemical plants are just bonkers good. They've got a crafting speed of 8 by themselves, 4 beacon slots, 4 module slots, and they're so big that you can surround them in the other design for this. Like, this is what I forgot to mention before when I was talking about modules and beacons. This is the other way. This is the other size of machine. So both the chemical plants, the advanced furnaces, are this size. So are the matter plants and matter assemblers are this size. So doing it like this gives you a lot of space around here for things if you need them. If you need them. Fuel refineries, this is it. This is just the size of them. And rocket fuel, 1 iron plate, 50 ammonia, 50 oxygen. Ammonia comes from nitrogen and hydrogen. And those come from more Factorissimo stuff that I've done here with the atmospheric condensers. You get oxygen and nitrogen for free from the atmosphere, but you need a hell of a lot of them. Oxygen, 142,000 per minute, and I use most of that here. This makes, thanks rate calculator, 3,400 rocket fuel per minute, and it needs 132,000 oxygen and 132,000 ammonia, of which the requisite nitrogen and hydrogen comes out of these factories. Again, this is more an aesthetics thing. I could have, I suppose, built a very large nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen farm over in some space, brought the ammonia and nitrogen in via trains, but again, because this uses 132,000 ammonia per minute, that would be more than 1 4-wagon train per minute, and I'm not in for that personally. That is a bottleneck, and I would rather just use the factories to get my way around it. But this makes rocket fuel from matter and iron plates, so I'm happy with it. This, you know, each one of these has 2 speed modules in, Mark III speed modules. So you know, whatever. I'm paying the cost for that. Right. Low density structures. This spans 3 grid squares, grid modules. The first one enriches copper from matter. Each one of these, not fluid wagons, why? I broke it. Each one of these takes 6,000 matter per minute, 4,000 sulfuric acid per minute, but gives me 15,000 copper plates per minute. All of that copper here gets balanced into this monstrosity here, because this is 4 outputs, slightly less than 3 lanes. So 24 needs to be balanced into 16. So I did 2 12 to 12 balancers and only used some of the outputs, and then put those 16 lanes into a 16 to 16 balancer. And then the copper goes in, 2 lanes of copper go into each side here, and this is where the beauty of the large undergrounds come in. The first lane of copper goes in the top, half of it goes loaded straight in, and then the final 3 machines, the copper jumps all the way from here to the 4th machine in. The steel comes in from the top, a train brings in steel, steel comes in from the top, thankfully each one of these uses a whole lane, and then the plastic comes in from the bottom. Plastic, I do make plastic somewhere here. I just bring crude in, and with some water I make the cubes into matter, the matter into crude and coal, and then the coal and the crude all gets processed into petroleum. The coal and the petroleum turns into plastic. Because these are so large and efficient, this does make quite a lot. This does output more than 2 transport belts, so with 4 of these. But I decided to try and use matter stabilizers for this process. So the matter cubes turn into matter, and then I use charged matter stabilizers to just turn that directly into plastic. Charged matter stabilizers, there's a 99% chance you get it back. So for the most part, the outputs here come around and get recharged here, which just uses electricity, so you just bung them in. They come back around, and then this is obviously input priority, so the old ones get reused first. So there is a train here full of charged matter stabilizers, but it shouldn't. This shouldn't need to go and get refilled very often. So this uses 4,600 per minute. Let's do per second. Uses 77 per minute, and I get 76 of those back per second. So only one only one of these needs to come out per second, roughly on average. And this whole thing can fit in 16,000. So again, this only needs to go and refill itself every hour or so. There was a large overhead in filling the train the first time, because matter stabilizers, even the empty ones, use energy control units. But once that balanced itself out, that is mostly where I've seen the biggest gains here. 3.3 thousand in the last hour. You can see here it was a very large up and down, up and down, up and down. This was where the power went out, which we don't talk about. This is very large up and down, up and down, up and down, as a lot of the energy control units were just going to trying to fill these trains up with matter stabilizers. But now the matter stabilizers have stabilized. This is all fine. This makes 12,000 low density structures per minute, 2.2 belts. You need 2 of them. Spaghetti. Somebody touch my spaghetti. Sometimes you just need to build a meme to just take your mind off of the nonsense that is low density structures. This one is actually running. So you can see the plastic being made here in the matter stabilizers, in the matter assemblers, I should say. And you can see that every second or so, one of the matter stabilizers needs to join the queue. I put a balancer on this one because I was noticing, I never actually fixed that on this side. I was noticing that these ones at the front were basically just always full of matter stabilizers because the gaps were coming from somewhere. I don't think it made any difference, to be honest with you. What else we got? So yeah, that's low density structures. The irony is, in the Crastorio mod, that if you want to make this way, you need a whole bunch of matter stabilizers, and matter stabilizers need energy control units, and energy control units need low density structures. So the more recipes that you want to use the second tier of matter, where you use matter and charged matter stabilizers to make intermediate products, which if I get FNEI out here, you can do that to make copper plates directly, glass, iron, plastic, rare metals, silicon, steel, sulfur directly. The more of this that you want to actually do, the more low density structures you'd need, and I really didn't want to have to make a third one of these. I could have done, but I really don't want to have to make a third one of these. Which is why most of the modules just involve matter cubes into things like copper, raw rare metals, raw imersite, and so on, which then just gets processed as normal. And all that really does is it takes the need away to mine more precisely. So I don't mine any rare metals in the Megabase, which is good, because to mine rare metals, you also need chlorine. So here in the starter base, for example, I do that. So then you need to worry about chlorine going out, and it's a nightmare, to be honest with you. So I just don't do it. I just mine basically lots of iron, crude oil, and turn that into matter. There's a copper patch up here which I used only because it was close to this and I wanted to test it sooner rather than later. The same as in vanilla, you need sulfuric acid to mine uranium, so I just don't mine uranium. I mine iron and turn the matter into uranium, and then use covariates. You need uranium for one of the tech cards. I believe it's purple. Yes. So you still need uranium-238. Is there anything else interesting raw materials-wise before we go and have a look at the science? I don't think so. It's all just basically materials in this minibus system, product out. Here's the new lithium design for electronic components. Glass, plastic, silicon, lithium makes electronic components. Lithium is actually a pain. There's two of those modules. Where do I make lithium here? It's actually right next to it. Lithium is probably the most complicated recipe in Crastorio, I would say, because you need to get hydrogen chloride, which is hydrogen and chlorine. You need to turn that into lithium chloride with mineral water. The lithium chloride then turns into, with water, turns into lithium, and then you get the chlorine back. With zero productivity, it's 1-to-1. You get the same amount of chlorine out that you put in. So you would just cycle the chlorine. With productivity modules, that complicates things because obviously you're getting the bonus production every now and then. So all I do for that is I just store it in here and then use a circuit condition for when I have more chlorine than I need to burn it off. I know I just complained that you need chlorine to make rare metals, so why don't I use that chlorine to mine rare metals? And it's it's weird. It's like you actually use quite a lot of chlorine to mine rare metals, and this is just easy, right? It's just easy to just burn it off. You know, it would make pollution if I had pollution on, and then that would annoy the biters if I had the biters on. So is this cheating? Possibly. Possibly. So this makes lithium from matter and hydrogen. This hydrogen is not in a building because I don't need that much space, and it also goes right up to the edge. I could probably squeeze a building in, but this was the first one I did before I decided, maybe I should use a building. Right, that's lithium. There's two of those. Lithium, rocket fuel, they're annoying. Oh, this module's cool down here. This makes immersium crystals from matter and rare metal. Immersium crystal. What's the rare metal for? Oh, you need rare metals to make nitric acid, that's right. So nitric acid, hydrogen, ammonia, mineral water and rare metals, and then you use the ammonia... No, it's the other way around, sorry. Hydrogen and nitrogen make ammonia. Ammonia goes into here with the mineral water and the rare metals to make nitric acid. The nitric acid and some sulfuric acid and the immersite powder make immersite crystals. The intended way to make immersite powder is to crush raw immersite in a crusher. The problem with that is it makes sand as a byproduct. And I don't want that. I don't want sand. Sand is coarse, it gets everywhere. And also, in the game of Crastorio 2, there's not much use for it beyond turning it into glass and quartz. And I didn't want to have to faff around with balancing sand out from this process, from the immersite powder process, with sand from a crushing process from stone. Yes, arguably you just say we'll bring in sand from here as a priority and then just bring in stone, sand to fill in the gaps. Ain't no one got time for that. Why faff around with that when you can just turn matter cubes into sand to make glass where you need it? The thing with the matter chain is that it's free beyond energy, and I've actually shown you what powers the base here. What powers the base is this. There we go. These are the highest tier of energy production machines. In Crastorio 2, antimatter reactors, all you do is you make empty fuel rods, whatever they're called. Empty antimatter fuel cells, and you charge them with matter. So here is a cube to matter plant, which stores the matter in a big tank, and then this just takes the empty one. You get the empty ones back, and that was it. Yeah, and then this is just lots of requester chests saying give me matter fuel rods, and purple chests to send the matter empty ones back to be charged. It's very simple. It's very low on updates per second. One time the matter ran out. This was providing the matter and it ended up not being enough, so I just brought over a stack of matter cubes by hand. Obviously I'll need to fix that. This currently makes 394 gigawatts if I need it. No accumulators. These are just how the game has to store energy in the teleporters, which I used at the very beginning of the video. And they're just big accumulators and they spend the energy when you teleport, so I don't actually use any accumulators at all. Why would I? These just use the energy as and when they're needed. They don't just constantly use fuel rods, they use it down in the bottom right there. The power output is can use up to 3 gigawatts each, and they just use exactly how much they need when the base is running at full tilt, which it basically is now. Yeah, 120 gigawatts. That's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. I do make sulfuric acid here because, again, this would be another one where I just would use so much sulfuric acid I'm not bringing it in by train. 92, almost 100,000 per minute. That would be a four wagon train every minute of sulfuric acid. So the fact that you can make it so quickly on site, this makes 282,000 per minute. This is just one module of the crude oil processing thing, which I have up here to make plastic. I just repurposed that design for sulfuric acid. I did experiment with just using the basic oil processing, but you get so many gains by productivity modules inside this. You could turn the matter into crude and then just turn crude into petroleum using the original basic oil processing recipe. But because you don't get the gains, and with the advanced chemical plants have 4 productivity module slots and they work so fast, I don't even think I need 2 of these, to be honest with you. I just copy and pasted it over. This makes so much petroleum. And then so half the sulfuric acid goes up here to that process, the other half comes down here for this process, which is lithium sulfur batteries. If you're a veteran Factorio player, you may recognise this. This is the old battery thumbnail repurposed to the lithium one, which is why it looks so different to the regular battery one. The batteries used to look like this without the red and green wires and without the lights. It used to look something like that. These are lithium sulfur batteries. They go into energy control units, and I think this might be one of the bottlenecks that the base has. I might have to double this up, which might mean doubling up lithium, or tripling up lithium again, sorry, because I make even more lithium down here. This has 37,000 in, so there should be a train on its way. Heading to, yeah, there it goes. Alright. Energy control units. This looks so innocuous, doesn't it? It just looks so like, oh, this is simple, right? What is this? Oh, it's only 3 lanes of electronic components, 2 lanes of low-density structures. Oh, 1 lane of lithium-sulfur batteries. Oh no, and 1 lane of imersite crystals. And this makes 2,400 per minute, and I need 2 of those, so I need 4 lanes of. Yep, 4 lanes of low-density structures just to keep up with the energy control units, which I need to put into charge matter stabilizers, which need to go into singularity tech cards. It's difficult. It's difficult. What on earth is going on here? Oh, that's right. I had to. This is the only recipe in the game that uses lubricant that's not a transport belt. for some reason. I can't remember how that is in vanilla, but I'm pretty sure there are a few other things that need lubricant. Lubricant goes into electric engine units, blue belts, and that's it. So I experimented with the coal liquefaction to make heavy oil in high quantities to turn into lubricant. I'm not sure it really works. I thought, oh, the excess light oil and petroleum I can turn into cubes to fuel the boilers. Turns out it makes a lot more solid fuel than you need. So I just burn it, and I'm not happy with it. I'd like to use this for something. I really would. I mean, I could possibly send the petroleum up here and see if that makes enough sulfuric acid. I could possibly do that, and I could get rid of this entirely and just save a matter generator. I don't know whether that would be enough petroleum. It might be. I would need a second output, is the thing. The philosophy of the base is that every module just has the one output. So it works for now. And it's one of the things on the to-do list. Alright, here we go. Science. Crastorio, how long have I been? How long is this? Oh my god, it's been an hour. Jesus. Sorry. I mean, it's a long video. It's a base tour. You want to? I know you're interested. I know you're interested. Crastorio has 6 endgame science packs. There are also 4 early game science packs that you end up not needing after a certain point in the game. So you dismantle it. It's very, very helpful. It's very cool. Red, green, blue you don't need. Military you don't need after a certain point. Basic tech cards you don't need very quick after a very early point. You end up only needing production, utility, optimization, matter, advanced, singularity. Purple is the annoying one in the same way that purple is the annoying one in vanilla Factorio, because you need to turn... Am I going the right way? Yes. You need 5 ingredients, because every science pack in Crastorio also needs blank tech cards as well. So this is the only time I had to fudge this slightly, and I had to also use some space here to turn matter into uranium, and then the uranium comes down here. Because then you also need to make productivity modules and red belts for some godforsaken reason. These are the big labs in Crastorio, the final tier of lab. 2,700 purple tech cards per minute. Yellow ones are a little bit nicer. Just use rocket fuel, low density structures, processing units. This is also why low density structures are such a problem, because not only do they need to go into the yellow science and an energy control units, they also still need to go into the rocket. Matter is made by matter tech cards. You first have to make matter research data with rare metals, plastic, lithium, and imersite crystals. The benefit to that is you get the productivity bonus twice. You get 40% productivity on making the data, and then you obviously get the 40% productivity turning the data into the actual card. But you also then need to put processing units into this as well. Singularity is of course the big struggle, because you need the charge matter stabilizers, and this is basically where the whole thing falls down, is that even though the numbers are there, as far as I can tell, everything is making as much as it should. It still just falls down at this point. You need these AI cores, which just use a little bit of ammonium to turn into nitric acid to make AI cores. This never caused me a problem. That's where the matter gets done. Where else is there? Yeah. So then, what else is there? Yellow science and rockets. I hope the rockets are launching, because the rockets are pretty good. Oh no, we looked at yellow. Yellow is easy. Let's go and look at the rockets, shall we? Where am I? There. Where are the rockets? Over there. Am I near a teleporter? I do have a vague teleport network set out, but That's another thing on the to-do list. I'd like to have a teleporter by in each module, really. Where am I going? Southwest. That's it. Hey, they are going. This takes a lot of space to make rockets, unfortunately, because this whole module makes the solar panels that you need. Oh, here's where the immersite's made. It's basically the same. You just use matter to turn into powder, and the rare metals turn into make the plates. This whole module just is one assembly machine that makes the solar panels, which goes into this. This train is slightly different. It goes to 3 different places first. This one makes the batteries, which then make the assemblers. You don't need regular batteries for anything. They're not a constituent part of the lithium-sulfur batteries, which is nice, I suppose. But this, as you can probably hear, is just vastly overkill, but this makes enough accumulators, and then the train comes and gets... This also makes the radars, doesn't it? Yeah, it makes the radars. How do the radars get in the train? Oh, it's this whole thing here. Yeah, I mean, radars are so cheap. So then the train is scaled to pick up exactly enough of each thing so that it is perfectly empty all the time. Once it's empty, it is because everything has been used in the exact right ratio. So then the satellites need all of that. It needs 6 products. It only makes satellites when there's no satellites ready to go down here. Thanks, autosave. And then the rockets, you need the same thing that the vanilla needs. Rocket fuel, more low density structures, the rocket control units, and then we also take some blank tech cards, because the rocket doesn't actually produce the science pack, it produces the space research data, which then needs to be turned into optimization tech cards, and there they go. It takes 40 seconds to launch the rocket. But if I just leave this open, thanks to the obscene amount of beacons that you can fit around a rocket silo, 2 rocket silos is more than enough to actually make 2,700 cards. Of course, because you then get the productivity bonus from this, you don't actually need 2,700. I mean, this is good to go already. Like, this takes more time doing the animation than it does loading the rocket. But it's fine. It is scaled. It's in fact overscaled, so there's a circuit condition here to not even launch the rockets unless there's less than 2,700 cards in here, and off they go. This has done 424, 423. I don't know why one is one less than the other, but there we go. So this only needs about 2,000 tech cards a minute, what with the productivity bonus. And this is not the bottleneck, as you can see. This is totally fine. Low density structures, my god. Spaghetti. So then the only other thing now is, if I believe correctly, is to just show you where all the science goes. There's another collection of stuff down here, just where some stuff I had to double up, so I make more steel here, more energy control units, which, you know, it's working. I just don't understand why singularity science always seems to be a problem. There's more lithium here. I'll have to troubleshoot it, basically. And where am I going? Oh, it's a bit further. It's a bit further on. My ultimate goal is 5,700 science per minute, which is easily doable now that I've gotten this far, because I'll just copy and paste everything. So here are my 6 science trains. 2,700 is half a purple belt, which is why I went for that. And they get loaded into the Singularity labs, which do all the research for me. And as we can see, 3,700 in the last 5 seconds. 3,100 in the last 10 minutes, 3,300 in the last 1 hour. So obviously the 1,000 from the original base. I mean, it's possible, but the original base is the problem, and I've got a problem up here. Yeah, space science is a problem up here. So it's possible that this is working, and the actual issue is with the starter base. I'd be surprised, because singularity science is the problem for production 2.8, whereas space science is the same as all the others. And the production is not as high because there's always a backlog, right? Like here, for example, utility tech cards, it just dips down because the chests are full. It doesn't need to make any more. Same all the way down here. Like everything's probably full here, and then trains come and pick it up. So I need to solve it. I need to solve the problem. Some other small little niche things, I guess. I got blue Spidertrons, which are full of rails, trains, signals, chests. They can build the station blueprint. So if I need another thing, and I'm going to do that, obviously, I'm going to just copy and paste a whole bunch of stuff to improve production. The green ones are my expansion Spidertrons. They're just full of landfill, radars, and pylons. And then I have expanded here. I've just got a simple blueprint that snaps to the grid that puts the pylons down. Puts the land down first, of course, and then puts the pylons down. I just send the Spidertrons off to do that. I'll just click and drag this all the way down, send them off to do it. Click and drag again to fill in any pylons that they missed because it was on land. And then also do this. There's one here for the radars. The radars cover quite a large area, so I don't need them in every grid square. They're also, you would use a fair amount of power. So I just opted to put them in every other grid square, so every now and then I just do this to make sure that there's coverage. There's probably a few that I've missed, but you know, as you can see. Matter cubes aren't a problem at the moment, but it's just a simple case of, as I showed you before, just expanding this. Oh, there's a few. These are the immersite patches, raw immersite here. Just these mine so quickly, even without the speed modules in. This one doesn't even have speed modules in, and it makes 12,600 raw immersite per minute, and this would only use 12,000 to turn into matter. And then once this has 100,000 matter, it will say, "Bring me a train. I am ready to have matter picked up." I do need to automate bringing in charge matter stabilizers here, because as you can see, this is running slightly empty. The empty ones come out, they get charged, and they go back in. But because you lose 1% of them, eventually this will be 0, and then I'll stop making matter cubes entirely. But I'll just go and pick up 10,000 from the starter base and drop them off, and that'll last me like another 10, 12 hours at least. That's it, that's the base. As I say, there are a few little things I still need to debug, but I'm very happy with it. It works, it's ripe for expansion. Trains, signal, there's no four-way junctions, as you'll notice. Four-way junctions suck. There's very rarely a jam. There's only ever a jam if suddenly 4 trains need iron, because I haven't set up a second iron or copper location, so therefore there's no programming for the train stations. But you know, that's just a simple case of, due to the beauty of the modular design, oh, I need more copper, I'll just copy and paste. And that's definitely one thing I'm going to do, mostly because the copper and the iron is all the way up here, so all of the trains just have to come up here for copper and iron. But if we look at the stations, I mean, there are 7 trains that pick up iron, and yes, 7 trains that pick up copper, so it's not a huge amount. But it is something that does need to be sorted. It is on the list of things to be done. This makes the blank tech cards. You make loads from just copper and iron. It's very simple. So yeah, that's my base currently as it stands. I may continue with it. I basically just wanted to show it off. It's probably the biggest base I've ever done, and that's Crastorio. too, of course. I could vanilla. It would be. I think it would probably be easier in terms of logistics, harder in terms of the time it would take, because obviously in Crastorio you have your advanced chemical plants, your advanced furnaces. You know, you would need a lot more space for making the iron than this. Um, UPS might become a problem in vanilla just because of the vast quantities of more machines, and obviously no loaders. You would need a lot more arms doing stuff. Loaders obviously help quite a lot. Please let me know what you think. And if you want to see more of this stuff, then, you know, like, please let me know. I haven't made a video in a long time. I took a bit of a break from it, decided what I wanted to do. I got my new computer. It's all good. I'm just wondering what to do next, really. So, if this is your jam, I'd be happy to maybe stream sessions of me expanding the base, or, you know, if you're here for Factorio content, then I'm very grateful. See, Singularity Science has died. It is picking it up, and it is already full of 27,000, but it is, you know, not quite. It's still having to wait because these are. This station is. Whoops! I meant to go and actually look at that. I mean, there are loads of it. I don't know. Basically, I don't know. I need to fix it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, as I say, if you enjoyed, please let me know. If you want to leave me a like or a comment and be like, yay, Factorio, please, more of that. If it's the kind of thing that you would watch, if you think I make it interesting for you, if you could squeeze me into your routine, your Factorio routine, especially as a certain man whose name begins with Nilaus isn't making as much Factorio content as he used to anymore, please let me know. Just let me know. Even just let me know how's it going. Just how's it going. If you just want to be like, thumbs up, cool video, man. I'm doing good. That's great as well. Thank you so much. Oh no, wait, I forgot something. I forgot. None of this could be possible without the helpful people from Squarespace. No, without the helpful person who made this glorious website. The Factorio calculator. factoriolab.github.io/factorio. It has all of the settings you could possibly want. It supports a lot of popular mods, and I definitely could not have done the base without this. Absolutely not. This told me, it helped me work things out, it helped me work out whether matter was a sustainable way of actually supplying everything. It helped me build modules so that if I couldn't make 22,000 low density structures in one module, I could scale it for 11,000 and know I'd have to double them up, so on and so forth. It was made by Doug Broad. Buy a coffee for Doug. I have. Please. I could not have done it without him. Thank you so much, Doug. Right. Yes. Now it's the end of the video. Back to Factorio. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed, please leave me a like or a comment. And if you want to see more Factorio, please make sure to subscribe. Other than that, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.